Welcome back to Flashbacks. I'm Tony from Comic Book Fans United, and today I'm going to be breaking down the episode Potential Energy. Before I get started, let me just touch on the fact that there was no flashbacks for the mid-season finale, and the reason for that being was that I felt there was nothing to really talk about. There were no new characters introduced, there were no real hidden Easter eggs that I felt were something that I could really just flesh out into an episode. Really, the only thing that Barry did throughout that episode was kind of have a brief moment of flight, but aside from that, there was really nothing for me to talk about. And not because it was a bad episode, just it was a very story-driven episode, working with elements that they had already built up to up until that point. And I don't really want to sit here and review each episode. I really just want to give a brief background on some of the characters that they're introducing, or some new locations that they'd like to name drop, or even just, you know, some story elements that are pulled from the comics, and not really just get in front of the camera and say what I thought of the episode overall. There were a few new locations name dropped throughout this episode, the first being Markovia, a fictional European country that borders France. It's also the home country of Geoforce and Terra, Geoforce being a longtime member of the Outsiders, a team formed by Batman, and Terra, his younger sister, being a member of the Teen Titans, and later went on to betray the Teen Titans when she sold them out to Deathstroke. The other location name dropped in this episode is Midway City. Now, in the show we see that Patty was accepted into a prestigious university from Midway. In the comics, Midway is actually home to quite a number of characters in the DC universe. Both the Hawks have lived there for quite a while, but the most notable characters to come out of Midway is the Doom Patrol, led by Dr. Niles Calder, and featuring characters like Robot Man, the Negative Man, and Elastigirl. So the villain of this episode is Russell Glosson, better known as the Turtle. Now, in the show, he's shown to have powers that drain kinetic energy that's nearby him, so he can appear to be moving fast. In the comics, what's interesting to note is that the Turtle was never named, and this version of him kind of feels like a combination of both the Turtle, which is a Jay Garrick villain that went on to be a Wally West villain, and Turtle Man, who was a villain of Barry Allen's. Now, I'm more familiar with the Turtle than Turtle Man, but from what I can recall about the Turtle was that he was a short, heavy-set, older white man who dressed like a turtle, and he would take an exceedingly long time to plan out traps and ways to attack the Flash, to the point where it could take him maybe 5 or 6 years, or just an exorbitant amount of time just to try to beat the Flash. And the last time I recall seeing him, Wally West was actually able to get a hold of him and run into the Speed Force and travel all the way back to like the Paleolithic era and just leave him there with dinosaurs. And that was really the last time I think the Turtle ever appeared in Flash comics, at least in the prior timeline prior to the New 52 launch. So while on the subject of Wally West, let's just get this out in the open now. This episode decides to give Wally a new origin of sorts. Not quite his New 52 origin, because in that origin, he's a young kid who's kind of living outside the law from what we gathered until he ran into Barry Allen. This version is now connected closer to the West than ever before, because we've gotten to know Iris and Joe West, and now he's Iris's younger brother as opposed to her nephew. As opposed to being a young boy who's out on the streets tagging up walls and gets to meet Barry Allen that way. This version is a street racer who then comes to meet Joe West and Iris at their house in the mid-season finale, and we get to see more of him here. And I'm not digging it. I'm not saying it's the actor's fault. I'm not saying necessarily just the writer's fault. It's just something about this Wally West is not clicking for me yet. And I hope it turns around. I have faith because, you know, Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti and Jeff Johns have been doing great work with this show and building up that supporting cast. So I'm not saying, you know, I'm losing all faith in Wally West. I'm just not sold yet. The street racing thing was kind of dumb. His just, you know, standoffish attitude towards Joe, while I understand it, it didn't really feel like Wally West to me. And Wally being my absolute favorite Flash, I'm going to be harsher on this particular character than any other character on the show. Now, normally at this point in this episode, I would be wrapping it up and telling you the whole usual like, subscribe, share nonsense, but there was a lot more to talk about today. And let's start with the Legends of Tomorrow special that aired immediately following The Flash. Now, I'm someone who's actually watched every episode of Arrow and every episode of The Flash, so I'm all caught up. And this special did not feel like it was aimed towards people like me who are just, diehard fans of these shows. This was really aimed more towards an audience who maybe they just watch Flash, or maybe they just watch Arrow, or maybe their favorite characters are going to be featured on this show, so now they're tuning in and they haven't really given either of the previous two shows a chance. It wasn't a bad special. It does a good job of explaining where each character stands at the moment of where it starts. Really the only thing interesting of note, though, for me, was the fact that Rip Hunter calls his ship the Wave Rider. And in DC Comics, Wave Rider is actually kind of like the herald of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was a character that showed up just in that storyline, and I think he made a few appearances afterwards, I'm not quite sure. But he was most recently featured in the Convergence event, and I'm not going to go into that one too much. It wasn't really a well-received event. But what happened with Wave Rider in that particular storyline, I actually really appreciated it. It was something really cool to do. So it's nice to see that character still used in a very similar kind of fashion, but this time rather than being a person, it's just the name of the ship. Following the special covering Legends of Tomorrow was a DC Cinematic Universe special that aired, covering Batman vs. Superman, a little bit of Wonder Woman, a little bit of Justice League, and showed the Suicide Squad trailer. So I'm going to go through my thoughts of those real quick. Not going to go too far in depth into them because I feel like this is something that we can talk about as the main CBFU podcast. So I'm just going to give you my brief thoughts on each of them. So first up is Batman vs. Superman, and there's nothing to actually talk about here. They didn't show anything new. They didn't really divulge any plot points that we haven't already pulled from the trailers. And I'm actually very happy about that because there's been a lot of rumbling that the last trailer kind of revealed a little too much of the movie. And I don't feel like that's true. I feel like there's still quite a lot left that we don't know about. And I'm going to give Zack Snyder the benefit of the doubt that he may still have a few surprises left for us to, uncover once we finally get to that film. If you do want to know more about my thoughts and about Batman vs. Superman, specifically the last trailer, along with the rest of the CBFU's thoughts on it, I'm going to leave a link somewhere, maybe right here, I don't know. Following Batman vs. Superman was the first glimpse at the Wonder Woman movie, and I wasn't disappointed at all by this. I think Gal Gadot is a great casting for Wonder Woman, at least from what we've seen from Batman v Superman trailers. She looks the part. I'm hoping she can, hold her own in her own standalone movie. That's going to be the real test for her. But so far, I'm in. I find it intriguing that it does happen to look like a period piece. And we do get a quick glimpse at her fighting, and we do get a quick shot of Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, who, I feel is going to do a good job as Steve Trevor, but, deep down in my heart, I really feel like he would have killed it as Hal Jordan. But the most interesting moment throughout this segment was a piece of concept art that showed Wonder Woman in the foreground and what I assumed was Ares, the god of war, in the background. Now, Ares is actually a long-running villain for Wonder Woman throughout quite a long time now. He was most recently featured in the Brian Azzarello Cliff Chang run, where instead of being a villain, he was more of a mentor to her. And I'm very curious to see which version of Ares this movie depicts, if it in fact is going to feature Ares. So next up was the Justice League movie, and Kevin Smith and Jeff Johns didn't really talk too much about this movie, but they gave a little bit of a tease at what we might get out of this film. For starters, the team seems to be built around Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, who, from what we know, are all going to appear in Batman v Superman and obviously their solo films, with the exception of Cyborg, up to the Justice League movie. I believe Flash might actually have a movie the same year. I'm not sure about the movie dates. But what was interesting to note was Jeff did drop the little nugget that the Green Lantern Corps is going to factor into the Justice League movie in some way. And that's the most exciting thing for me, because to not have Green Lantern in a Justice League movie feels wrong. And I hope that they do find someone great for the role. But let's talk about Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg real quick. Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, who I think is going to do a pretty damn good job at reinterpreting Aquaman. It kind of has that 90s Aquaman vibe to it, which, you know, a lot of people did hate. But I think it's going to be a little different from that. I think it's going to have that kind of intensity, but having more of a lean towards, you know, at the very least, what Jeff Johns and maybe Ivan Reis did with their first opening arc of the Aquaman book launched in the New 52. Kind of had a bit of a horror vibe to it. And it's being directed by a director who is very familiar with horror films, so that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from that. We got a quick look at what Cyborg's probably going to look like, and I'm actually pretty cool with the design. I feel like Cyborg is the most looked down on member throughout this entire storyline that they're going to try to build up. People just don't seem to want to give him any respect. I'm going to hold out benefit of the doubt for the guy. We'll see if he can actually do a really good job. Last up is Ezra Miller as the Flash. And this being flashbacks, I kind of have to talk about this. First off, I don't mind the fact that it's not Grant Gustin in this film series. In fact, I prefer that it's not Grant Gustin in this film series. They've done a very good job on the CW to build up a DC universe of their own, and even a multiverse to an extent. They're starting to branch out into it. To pull that Barry Allen and put him on a brand new world with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, you know, taking on Doomsday and Lex Luthor, that Barry Allen would feel very lost in that world, and it just wouldn't make sense. I would like a Barry Allen that is native of that world, so Ezra Miller is going to fit that bill just fine, I feel. If he's going to be as good as Grant Gustin is, has yet to be seen. I kind of doubt he will. You know, Grant Gustin, for me, is going to be my Barry Allen for a very, very long time. The suit looks okay. I'm not a big fan of just the solo lightning bolt on the chest. It's just concept art. It could very easily change, but as of right now, the Flash from the Justice League films kind of feels like the weakest link for me. Yes, Cyborg slightly edges out the Flash in the Justice League films for me. And last up is the excellent Suicide Squad trailer. Now, I was really sold by the footage from San Diego Comic-Con. If you don't recall, if you have never watched CBFU, I'm going to play a brief clip of my first reaction to the first look of Jared Leto.
This is fucking bad.
This was breaking news.
This is breaking news.
We really wanted to do some other things, and we will, but this is just terrible. I can't.
I say we just cut it here because we got nothing else to add besides saying this is awful, and I don't want this to be an episode
we don't like
for a week.
Hopefully his acting fixes this.
No!
No!
Even if you cover it all up with the suit for the entirety of the movie and you get like 10 seconds of it, he's still gonna have fucking damage written on his fucking forehead with a fucking jailhouse teardrop tattoo.
You can't cover that up.
What the fuck?
Now, a lot's changed since then. For starters, the San Diego Comic-Con trailer sold me over on him with just that laugh and just, you know, the quick glimpses at him. This trailer, though, kind of makes the Joker feel scary again, and it's something that's kind of hard to do because he's such a fan favorite character. So, you know, maybe the teeth and the tattoos kind of will sell that kind of, you know, scary vibe to him, and I think Jared Leto's going to do a great job. I think David Ayer's doing a great job with this film. The overall feel of this trailer was just over the top and fun, and it's a lot of people are already comparing it to Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm going to go over the rest of the characters from the trailer real quick. I'm not going to go too in depth into any of them or give you any of their backstories, but I just want to cover some of the characters that we're seeing throughout these trailers. For starters, let's start with the weird one. Scott Eastwood is heavily featured both in this trailer and the previous trailer. You may not realize it's him, he's heavily featured, but go back and rewatch it. You always see him in the background, or there'll be brief moments where you see like a side profile of him while Harley's talking. He's kind of heavily prevalent throughout these trailers, and his name is in the credits at the end of the most recent one. which is really interesting to note. And there's a rumor that's been going around for a while that he may actually be playing Slade Wilson, and I'm starting to believe that. We get a better look at Katana in this trailer than we did in the last one, and the most interesting thing about this is that the sword she's wielding in this movie actually is the Soul Taker sword. Katana's a mystical character in the DC universe, and while the CW gave us a katana, it wasn't this katana, and this one actually feels closer to the source material. So I'm like really excited to see what she's going to bring to the table. Since it's the Suicide Squad, I'm going to give survival rates for everybody. I'm going to say she has a 70% chance of living throughout this film. We get a few more shots of Killer Croc in this trailer, and it appears like they've gone back and digitally altered Croc just a bit. At least from this trailer. In the last trailer, it felt like that was footage of the guy in the full makeup, and it looked great then. Here, it looks even better, and I feel like it's because they digitally altered the face just slightly. They altered the look of the texture of his skin just slightly. Maybe it just is the lighting in different scenes, I don't know. But I'm digging the look of Croc for this movie. I love the actor who's actually beneath all that makeup. He was fantastic in Oz. So I'm really hoping that he spins out more out of this. I'm going to give him, just because I'm a fan of both the character Croc and the actor, I'm going to give him a 75% chance of survival. God damn it, Jay Courtney. I think you finally found that character that was built for you. You don't have to put on a fake American accent. You get to play a dude who's just like looking for a fight and looking for a drink. His Captain Boomerang in this trailer is having the most fun, I think, out of anybody else. And it's just such a joy to see a character like that just leap off the screen. He's one of my favorite all-time members of the Suicide Squad. He's a real piece of shit in the comics, and I think Jay Courtney is gonna just kill it. He ain't dying. There's no way. 95% chance of survival. I honestly did not expect to see more of Cara Delevingne's June Moon, aka the Enchantress, in this trailer, but what we did see, I was kind of blown away even more than what we saw in the last trailer. They flat out say she's possessed. She's got this like smoky effect to her. She looks fucking out there already. The character of the Enchantress in Suicide Squad is really one of the loosest cannons you could have on the team. Not because she's so evil, but because she's just so unhinged that she's a danger to herself and anyone around her. Survival chances, 60%. Mostly because it's Cara Delevingne, who knows? We'll see about that one though. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like the use of Bohemian Rhapsody that made this trailer feel like, not lighthearted per se, but definitely more fun than the last trailer did. Made stuff like Will Smith's line of "It's time to go save the world" kind of not feel so cheesy anymore. It feels like this is the kind of movie that is out to have fun and be over the top and, you know, be ultra violent. But as for Will Smith's Deadshot in this trailer, we get a little more of him. We don't get that much more from him dialogue-wise. But it is Will Smith. It is Deadshot. And if they wanted to, they could bring him back for a Batman movie. They could bring him back for another Suicide Squad movie. I'm going to say he's going to live through this one. 90% chance he makes it through. We get to see El Diablo use his powers in this trailer to a pretty cool effect. You see him using basically dual-wielding flamethrower arms because he has the ability to manipulate fire. I'll give him this. He has a cool power set. He has an interesting look. But he's not a big-time actor. He's not a very popular character in the DC universe. His, biggest time to shine in comics was in the new Suicide Squad from the New 52. I don't like his chances, but because of his look and because of his powers, I'll bump him up a little bit. I'll give him 40% chance survival rate. Just enough of a chance to maybe pull it out. You know who ain't pulling out? Slipknot. They brought in the dude who played the Code Talker. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. I never saw it, but I definitely recognized him as soon as I saw him. And that's really all I know about that dude. Slipknot is not a big DC villain. He's never had any time to shine. And no one's expecting... I give him 2% chance. If he makes it past the half-hour mark in this movie, I would take that as a victory for that character. No way he's making it all the way through. Leading the squad, we have Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman. Now, some people may recognize him as the guy that played RoboCop in the most recent reboot. For me, I know him from his work on the show The Killing. He's alright. He's an alright actor. I think he's going to be alright in this movie. I think he's going to be outshined by everybody else. I would have given him a 50% chance of surviving. You know, 50-50, guy leading the team, definitely military, probably willing to go down with a fight. But given the fact that we have Scott Eastwood there, given the rumors of Slade Wilson, you know, Slade Wilson, even with like a military background in these film series, I could see him coming back and being the leader in a following Suicide Squad film, or even going on to showing up somewhere else in the DC Cinematic Universe, leading the squad. And because of that, Joel Kinnaman, man, I don't know, I'm going to drop you down to about 30% chance. You got better chances than Slipknot, how about that? That's a win. Much like Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, it looks like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is having a whole lot of fun in this film. And she should be. She's an over-the-top character, she's insane, she's got a huge fan following, no way she's dying, 100% survival rate. I'd be fucking shocked if she even gets teased at being killed. Fans would be in a fucking outrage if she died. Lastly, I just want to cover what exactly is it the Suicide Squad is fighting in this trailer. First I got the vibe it was probably going to be Joker, or at least Joker is, you know, outside of the team. He's not part of the team proper. Maybe they're tracking down Joker to get to something else. But from this trailer, it looks like it's a totally different foe. We see it briefly from behind in a quick shot in the subway. We see tentacles flying out. And that's not enough for me to make a guess, because, you know, for all I know, that's Brainiac, for all I know. But it's probably not. But I am curious to see if it's actually something that spins out of Batman vs. Superman. Maybe it's just some unresolved plot line that they're leaving open for the Suicide Squad to wrap up, which would be a good idea for the Suicide Squad, because that's what they are. They're a cleanup crew for jobs that, you know, you can't afford to send military personnel into. As for the Joker, Jared Leto, no way he's dying. He's got a 100% survival rate. Even if they show him dying, he's not dying. Jared Leto's gonna kill it. He looks creepy as fuck, which I believe I already covered. So I'm just gonna wrap it all up right now. And that wraps it up for this extended episode of Flashbacks. We got a pretty good Flash episode. Not great, but pretty good. We got a fluff piece on Legends of Tomorrow. We got crazy hype out of the Suicide Squad trailer, and some interesting tidbits from the DC Cinematic Universe moving forward from Batman v Superman. That's going to wrap it up for me this week. If you've been enjoying the series, please leave a like on this video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Check us out over at geekade.com. Check us out on our YouTube page, where we do our weekly podcast and From the Shop reviews. Also check out nerdopotamus.com for, you know, just a bunch of great content there from a lot of people that we work with closely, particularly Carlos, Fredo, Topher. You might even find maybe some of our stuff on there now, just because we're trying to get our name out. That's going to wrap it up for this episode, though, of Flashbacks. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week in a much shorter episode, I promise.